Notre Dame?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. So that call just came about an hour ago. Um, just it's not just words when you say everybody's got to be ready to adapt to sudden change. This is the world we're in right now. We just have to just keep dealing with it as it comes, and we will. Fortunately, we didn't just have one team on our schedule this weekend. Uh, First of all three teams have had their issues. Obviously, Louisiana Tech's weather issues is what pushed everything back a day for us. Their athletic director would not let their teams travel today, so it would be impossible for Louisiana Tech to be here to play tomorrow because of the conditions of the ice and snow. And it's just, I talked to Lane Burroughs a little while ago, and it's awful. Uh, so they're not going to even try to leave Ruston until Saturday. And right now they don't have a game scheduled on Saturday. So the only way that they would have a game scheduled on Saturday is if sometime in the next 45 minutes, the United States Air Force Academy coach calls me and tells me they're not coming, which I'm kind of sitting on pins and needles right now waiting. He's actually having his COVID test right this moment as we speak. His whole team is being tested, and unless they have an outbreak, in their testing right now, they're going to plan on getting on a military plane and flying to Baton Rouge here in a couple of hours. And if Air Force comes here, Louisiana Tech loses out on a game. They'll only have a game on Sunday and Monday. But if Air Force for some reason cancels, we're going to slide into a 3-game series with Louisiana Tech. So there's been a lot of moving parts in dealing with this whole thing. And I feel bad for the Notre Dame team and the coaches that have worked so hard to prepare their team to start the season. And all of a sudden they had the rug pulled out from underneath them, literally on the day that they were supposed to travel to come here. Air Force has had issues with the weather. They had 6 inches of snow last night in Colorado Springs. So they have a challenge just getting from the Air Force Academy to the airport today. And of course, they have to deal with the COVID testing as well. So hopefully they'll make it. Hopefully Louisiana Tech will get here. Our schedule itself will not change in terms of days and times as long as Air Force gets here. We'll just plug Air Force into that Notre Dame slot at noon game on Sunday. So it's been a kind of chaotic week for me personally, just dealing with all of these things. And going to be really anxious when we finally strap on the uniform and get to play a game against somebody. Not to mention the weather. I've been here 15 years. I can't remember it being this cold, this close to the start of the season. We haven't been on the field at all since last Saturday. And with complete honesty, I probably was crazy for putting the team out there on Friday and Saturday of last week. It was absolutely frigid out there. And we played 8-inning scrimmages. And I think the temperature, wind chill was about 32. And it was awful. We got, we needed to get Hill and Marceau and Labus out on the mound because they had missed time. And this was like one of their few chances to even face hitters. So we needed to do it. But I can remember last Friday and Saturday just freezing out there. And then we haven't been on the field since then. So today the craziness has returned in Coach Maneri's mind. We're going to try to get about an hour in on the field today. And then hopefully a little bit tomorrow and then play Saturday. Fire away, anybody.
Hey, Coach. Jared here.
I was just asking about kind of those scheduling issues. At any point during this, have you thought about having like backup schools, especially with COVID and the weather? Have you had like backup options, and how much has COVID prepared you? Because I know this is stressful, but it's got to be kind of less stressful than everything you've had to deal with over the past year.
I don't know how you rate stress, Matt. My life is filled with stress constantly. That's what I do. That's why my neck hurts all the time. But I've been talking with Chris Crenshaw at Southern quite a bit this week, believe it or not, because they were he could tell you his own stories about scheduling. They were supposed to go to Oklahoma, that got canceled. They were supposed to go to Texas Corpus Christi, that ended up getting canceled. He thought he had some other things, and now finally he ends up with a series at UNO simply because Alcorn State couldn't go play at UNO this weekend. But I had Chris on hold because he called me the other day and said, "Is there any way we can jump into the tournament with you guys?" And I said, if one of those teams cancel, then yes, you can jump in. But now he got that series at UNO. Now Notre Dame cancels, so now he's going to go to UNO instead. It's just been a lot of moving parts constantly with the scheduling, and for midweek games, several of the schools in the state have told me, if you have a cancellation, please call us because we're so low on our quantity of games that we're allowed to play. So I've got my list right there in my upper right-hand drawer. And, if somebody tells me on a Sunday or a Monday morning that we can't play on Tuesday, I'll just start working my way down the list and see who's available to play a midweek game. And it could be a lot of that kind of changes, last second stuff. And everybody's going to be willing to do whatever they can do to play games.
Hey, Coach. Jared here. On top of all the weather and COVID problems that you've been facing, you also have to go through the normal stress of figuring out your lineup for opening weekend.
Yeah, little things.
Is there anybody who is, would you say, finalities, like playing throughout the entire weekend? Are there people that are going to rotate in and out? I know you said this morning that Will was going to be starting at third, and Zach and Drew obviously would be alternating at short. Just kind of walk me through like what's going on everywhere that you've decided.
Well, Hayden Travinsky is out this weekend because he's been nursing a sore throwing arm as a catcher. So Jacob Wyeth will definitely be the number 2 catcher. I'm not certain yet how I'm going to manage the catching situation. I don't know if Alex Milazzo will catch all 3 games, or I might mix Jacob Wyeth in there for one of the games. I'm just not sure yet. All this stuff with Notre Dame just happened in the last hour, and I'm still, like I said, waiting to hear to make sure Air Force is coming, and whether or not that would affect some decisions, Jared. I just don't know for sure. I'd have to put some thought into it. That's the situation there. Excuse me. I have some thoughts about playing different guys this weekend. I really don't want to share them with you right now because I haven't really talked to the players about it. But Will Helmers is going to start at third base. I do know that for sure. And I do know that both Zach Arnold and Drew Bianco will play shortstop this weekend. I don't know who's going to start the first game and who's going to start the second game and who's going to start the third game yet. But both of them will start games. I'm just not sure exactly what order. Kay Doty's going to be a fixture at second base, most probably, barring injury or any unforeseeable things. Trey Morgan will probably play most of the time at first base, although I am tinkering with the idea of having Cade Beloso come in and play a little bit at first base so that I can free up the /DH, or free up the DH/left field spot a little bit in case I want to play Will Safford or Jordan Thompson as a DH or something like that. Giovanni will get most of the time in center field, but again, there's some other possibilities of guys that I'd like to play as well. And Cruz will be a fixture in right field unless I just want to, because of the way the games are being played out, that I might want to get somebody else some time. So I have a pretty good idea in my mind about it, but again, there's several little moves that I may want to do, but the games themselves may dictate those moves.
Good to see you, Coach Mainieri. So given all the uncertainty with the weather, obviously COVID, and this being a first game, how do you just put all that together, put all that past you, and still come out and find a way to win on Saturday afternoon?
Well, this is the business I'm in. You just have to know how to compartmentalize things and deal with the circumstances. Nothing is perfect in life. Everybody knows that. We've found that out the hard way, over these last 11 months. But really, on a lesser scale than pandemics, I deal with a lot of turmoil, in running a team. every year. And so you just have to really just have the discipline like I said, compartmentalize things. And one thing can't drag into the other, and it can't affect your attitude. And these are the lessons I try to teach our players, and certainly the head coach better be able to apply those principles as well. So, I mean, I feel like we run a pretty organized outfit here. And so we have kind of game plans for all different kinds of scenarios. And depending on what comes our way, we'll just kind of react quickly and make the moves that we need. But I'm just really excited about the fact that we're actually going to be on the baseball field. I know this weather has been awful, but starting Saturday, it appears as though there's going to be a warming trend, which is really exciting. It appears that it's going to be dry and that we're going to have baseball at the box. I mean, how exciting is this? Baseball Saturday, Sunday, Monday. Chris was nice enough to move the game Tuesday to a couple weeks later so that we didn't have to play 5 days in a row right out of the gate. We have a big game on Wednesday over in Lafayette. So it's just going to be exciting to get the season started and see how these guys go out there and perform.
Paul, with Will Hummers, what did you like about him at third base?
Who asked that, Wilson?
Yeah.
So this kid, I've been talking about him with you all before. He was not like if you ranked our recruiting class at the time that we got these kids committed, you wouldn't say Will Hummers was like up there with Dylan Cruz and that type of status, so to speak. This is what's so amazing about the business that I'm in. You never know what kids are like until they get on your campus and you get to see them every day. And after about 5 minutes of being around Will Hummers, your confidence in this young man just grows because he's obviously a very intelligent young guy. I mean, he went to Jesuit High School in New Orleans. He's excelled his first semester here at LSU academically. But there's something about him that he just carries himself with some confidence, but it's not like an outward arrogance where it turns people off. He's like the nicest kid in the world, but he's also got a little edge to him. He probably didn't tell you this, but he actually boxed until he was 12 or 13 years old. Yeah, he's a unique kid. He's got a lot of things about him that I'm learning. I asked him, I said, you boxed. I said, what did it feel like for you to put your fist in somebody's face? He goes, actually, it felt pretty good. I liked it, So when you hear kids say things like that and the way that they're so confident in themselves, when I was out there, so this is how the third base thing happened, Wilson, okay? So we've been struggling for 4 or 5 weeks, and throughout the fall, I'm just not feeling great about us making routine plays on the left side of the infield. And if you want to have a great pitching staff, man, you got to make the plays for those guys. If you don't make the plays, your pitching becomes pretty mediocre quickly. Every time they throw a routine ground ball, a pitch that results in a routine ground ball, and the play's not made, now you're forcing that pitcher to throw extra pitches. Your positioning of your players creates holes in the infield. You're having to throws to first base to prevent the guy from stealing second base. I mean, it affects, not to mention just the fact that the other team has a better chance to score runs. So this is why defense is so important. And we've become accustomed at LSU to having really great left side of the infields. When you think of the shortstops that we've had through the years, the third basemen we've had through the years, you don't notice you don't have a really good player there until you don't make the plays. And we had one year way back in 2010, the year after we won the national championship. I thought we had a good enough team to go back to Omaha in 2010. And third base was such a revolving door and an Achilles heel for our team. We tried like 6 different guys there. We had lost so many infielders from the previous year's team. And it literally kept us from having a real good team that year. I think we finished in 8th in the SEC. We did win the SEC tournament, but got sent to UCLA and faced Trevor Bauer in the regional on the road, and our season came to an end. But I know how important third base is. For me, it's the most underrated position on the field. And so I think we've got some talent there. Jordan Thompson is a very talented kid. He's just a little bit of a scatter arm right now. You know, he's got a strong arm, and when he throws the ball accurately, you're like, whoa, that looked really good. The problem is just the consistency of his accuracy, and also with his hands and so forth. I think Jordan's got a great future here, and it might be at third, it might be at shortstop, it might be at second base. I don't know. But right now, I just felt like he's just not consistent enough that we could count on him to make those plays. So I was watching Will Helmers taking ground balls at first base one day, and I looked at him, and I watched him field 20 ground balls, and he didn't even come close to missing one. Every ball found the pocket of his glove. His mechanics of fielding were as sound fundamentally as you would teach as a coach. And I thought to myself, this kid's got better fielding mechanics than all the other guys that we've been playing in the infield. So I walked over to him and I said, Will, where did you play in high school when you didn't pitch? And he said, third base. And I said, how'd you do there? And he said, I think I did pretty well, with a little grin. And I said, you handled the throw okay? And of course, he throws 90 off the mound and with great control. And he said, yeah, I didn't have any trouble with the throw. So I said, well, get a fielder's glove and get over there at third base and let me see what you look like. And I watched him, and he looked the same at third as he was at first, and he just looked very confident. And then, of course, when we started to warm up with the throwing, and he added that to fielding the ground ball, I just could tell right away that the kid could handle it. And it's one of those gut feelings you have as a coach. And he's not a bad hitter either. He reminds me a little bit of Austin Bain, who played for us a few years back. And it's not a picturesque swing, but somehow the barrel seems to find the ball. And usually the outfielder has to pick the ball up. But when he's going out to the outfield fence, because Will's running into second base with the double. And I think the kid's got a chance to be a really good player over there. The problem is, if he plays third base, you can't really utilize him as a pitcher. And so I had to talk to Alan and make sure that we felt comfortable with the depth of our pitching staff, that we could take away a guy that maybe was one of our top 10 pitchers, because we were so desperately in need of somebody who could make a routine play for us at third base.
Hey, Coach. Good afternoon.
Jacques, how are you?
I'm good. 2010 UCLA. That was a very unique trip. I'll never forget that one for sure.
I'd like to forget it. Garrett Cole and Trevor Bauer. That was a tough combo.
Yeah. Coach, as a guy who coached over a decade at Notre Dame, this little streak we're having of weather, was this like this for 5 months for you up there? And would the old player be laughing at us for freaking out about all this for 5 days?
5 months would be generous. It seemed like it lasted about 8 months up there. As I recall, the sun would disappear in October and reappear in April. This is why I'm here in Baton Rouge. I got tired of that weather up there, quite honestly. It's really tough to develop a team and get a team ready when all you can do is practice indoors. And we've had to do that now for about a week, and it brought back memories. And that's not the fondest memories I have of coaching at Notre Dame. So I wouldn't say that I would be laughing at the people down here if I was still at Notre Dame. It's awful. Cold weather and baseball are not a good combination. But like I told the Notre Dame coach the other day, I was telling him about how bad the weather was here. I said, I don't mean to make you feel bad, Link, but it's going to clear up here. You still got to deal with it for a couple more months up there.
Well, what's your thoughts, Coach, of 2,500 in the park to start the year instead of 10,000? And will that help some of the freshmen maybe ease in a little easier without that many people there, or does it matter?
I don't know what effect it'll have on the freshmen, Jacques. That's a good point. I thought about that, wondering whether or not that would affect them or not. But you come to LSU because you enjoy playing in front of crowds, and you want to play somewhere where people genuinely care about the program and what happens, and they come out in droves to watch you. So you can't be afraid of that, okay? You embrace that. That's what you came here for. Again, to put it in perspective, I'd have to verify this with Bill, but in a normal year, if we averaged 2,500 people a game, that would probably put us, what, Bill, around 18th in the country or something in average attendance. So let's put it in perspective, okay? I talked to the coach at Virginia the other day, who's got a great program. He's a dear friend of mine. Their maximum capacity for their games is going to be 250. You know, we're going to have 2,500. So in our stadium, it may not seem like a lot of people, but it'll still be a lot more people than most places are going to have. And I just feel bad for our fans who have been waiting so long to be able to come out and root on their Tigers again. And they're going to have to, you know, come to some games, not other games. You know, the ticket office has come up with some magical formula to try to please as many people as they can with the ticket situation. And if there's 25 people, there's 2,500 out there, we'll appreciate the support from whoever's out there.
Thanks.
Hey, Paul, I just had one more for you. I mean, just is it safe to say that the left field and the designated hitters are the two spots that you're still kind of working through before Saturday's games? And I guess just kind of what's the thought process there is in terms of just kind of what you want to see out of those positions?
Well, left field and DH will be occupied by Gavin Dugas and Cade Beloso. I'm just not sure which one will be the DH and which one will be the left fielder yet. I mean, I have an idea in my mind, but I haven't talked to the players about it yet. So, you know, and like I said, if I want to play Beloso some at first base, then that would free up either the DH or left field spot. If I wanted to play, for example, Will Safford, you know, I could play him in left field or DH him, or I might want to DH Jordan Thompson. I'm just not sure yet exactly. I had a plan before Notre Dame canceled because based on the pitchers that we were going to be facing. Now I'm going to have to kind of just rethink it, and I haven't really had the time yet to kind of replan my strategy for the utilizing of the players out there. But clearly the first game, either Gavin Dugas or Cade Beloso will be in left field, and the other one will be the designated hitter.
Coach, I've got one from a pitching aspect. What have you seen from Jaden Hill this year? Obviously, he's going to be in the starting rotation. And is there ever going to be a time this year where, should you need help in the bullpen, he might go back to kind of give you some relief should the situation arise, or is he solely in the rotation this year?
Matt, there's no plans to put him back in the bullpen. And if that's the way it works, that'll be great. That means Jaden Hill's pitching great as our Friday night starter, and that's what we need, and that's what we want him to do. Obviously, he's a dominating force in the bullpen, but he can be a dominating force as a starting pitcher as well. And I think not only what's good for our team, but what's best for him and his career is to let him be a starting pitcher and develop everything that it takes to be a great starting pitcher. I think his future will be very bright in professional baseball as he goes forward. His mind is not on professional baseball. His mind is totally on helping the LSU Tigers. And I think the best way for him to help the LSU Tigers is to go out on a typical Friday night and pitch us 5 to 7 great innings, and then give us a chance to win. And if our bullpen can go from there. Listen, Devin Fontenot, I just read an article today where, you know, one organization ranked him as the second best closer in the country. So we've got a special kid in Devin Fontenot as well. And I do think that the setup men, we know the veterans and what they can do, okay? But we also have some special freshmen. I think, you know, guys like Ty Floyd and Blake Money, Garrett Edwards, these guys have a chance to do something really good for us. And so I'm hoping we don't need to move. Not need to move, but I hope we don't need to have a Jaden Hill in the bullpen, and that he can be a starting pitcher. And again, if he stays in the starting rotation, it means he's pitching extremely well, and that'd be the best thing for us.
Can I get an on-the-record statement from you on who's better, Jaden Hill or Kumar Rocker, please?
No. Well, you know, we saw Rocker up close and personal in the SEC tournament a couple years ago, and he was really great as a freshman, and he's got nothing but better, obviously. Jaden's capable of pitching at that level. doesn't have the experience yet and hasn't done it on a regular basis like Rocker has done it. So you got to give the credit to that kid over at Vanderbilt. He's outstanding, and he might be the number one pick. But if Jaden Hill does what we hope he can do, he might just give Kumar Rocker a push for that number one pick.
Hey, Coach, one more for you. Talking about the rotation, kind of following up on this, you talked about some inning limitations or pitch count limitations on those guys this weekend. Do you still plan to follow up on that, just mentioned last week about Marceau, Labus, and Hill having some limitations on them?
Yeah, well, Jaden Hill certainly is going to be limited to 3 innings. He's not going to go more than 3 innings on Saturday. Hopefully he'll pitch well enough to go pitch 3 innings. But regardless of how well he's pitching and what his pitch count is, I'm 99.9% sure I'm going to hook him after 3 innings. And then we'll use other guys. Marceau, I think, would be a maximum of 5 innings. And I don't know if he'll get the 5 innings. A lot will depend on pitch count and how well he's doing and how much he's taxing himself and so forth. Remember, he missed some time in the preseason. And then AJ Labus, I think, has a little bit more endurance. He could probably pitch as many as 6 innings in his first start if he's pitching well enough to do it. One thing about I won't hesitate to take any of them, especially Marceau and Labus out, is because now we only have 4 games over this first instead of 5 games. We had the Tuesday, Wednesday game. So we'll have plenty of other guys that I would like to see get out there and kind of give them their first experience in college baseball if the time is appropriate to do that. And then we turn around, next weekend we have 3 games in 2 days, on Friday and Saturday. So we got to make sure that we, and all those guys now are going to be pitching on 1 day less rest. Normally Hill would pitch on Friday and come back on Friday. Now he's pitching on Saturday and having to come back on Friday. Marceau's pitching on Sunday and having to come back on Saturday. Labus is pitching on Monday, having to come back on Sunday. So certainly the first time, the adrenaline's going to be pumping. They'll probably have a little bit extra soreness the next day and having shorter rest. So we got to be really careful how far we let them go. That good for everybody?
Hey,
All
real
right.
quick, Coach. I don't know if you said this. Do you know your weekend rotation?
I think I've indicated it, but I'm not sure if I specifically said it. But Jaden Hill will be game 1, Landon Marceau will be game 2, and AJ Labus game 3.
Okay, just want to make sure.
Okay,
I have a
everybody.
question.
Who's that? Scooter?
Yes. You've always been known as a tinkerer through the season as the season goes along. With as much depth and knowledge you have coming back for various reasons, does it make it harder, or are you like a kid in a candy store?
Well, Scooter, I've actually done a lot of tinkering here in the weeks leading up to this season. It's just everybody hadn't been able to see it because the media hasn't been out there and we're not playing games for real. But there's been a lot of tinkering in the first 6 weeks since we've been back to school. And I'm just trying to give us the best chance to get off to a good start. I mean, I like to tinker to get us to the best lineup, best pitching rotation, et cetera, for when we start SEC play. But I really like to win the games too. So I want to give us the best chance to win the games as well as finding out what the best combination is for our team. And, so like doing something like we're doing with Will Helmers or putting Drew Bianco back at shortstop. We tried Dylan Cruz at third base. We've done a lot of different things, even in tinkering up to this point. So hopefully we can find the right mixture and not have to do too much once the season begins.
And one follow-up to that, with all that kind of unexpected players you had back, are you surprised so many freshmen seem to be contended for starting spots?
I'm not surprised because I knew we had a special class. Nolan Kane did a phenomenal job recruiting these guys. And then because of the shortened draft of only 5 rounds, we had not just the guys coming back, but we had freshmen coming to school that we maybe didn't anticipate. And I mean, Dylan Cruz, obviously everybody knows about him, but guys like Ty Floyd and Blake Money, these guys were strong candidates to be drafted and signed. And now that they're here, I mean, if you got talent, listen, Scooter, my philosophy has always been this: if all factors are considered equal, two players are of equal level of ability, then I always go with the experienced guy. But if the freshman kid is better than the experienced guy, you go with the talent and you let them gain the experience. And that's just kind of the way I've always been. And you're constantly trying to upgrade your team. And this is not intramurals, you know. I mean, I'm loyal to players, but what I'm mostly loyal to is our team as a whole. And whatever gives us the best chance to be successful is what we're going to do. And the players understand that. And it's their responsibility to gain the confidence of the coaches that they're the guy to be counted on. And I don't think that's being unfair. I think that's actually being fair to everybody.
Hey, Paul, it's Michael Cobble. One last one. With all this time you've had with this team, do you feel like you always say going in like this weekend, I always feel like, you're always trying to figure out the last couple pieces. Do you feel like you know this team, or can you never really know a team until you see them on the field?
Yeah, until the bright lights come on, Michael, things can change, and like the shortstop situation with Zach Arnold and Drew Bianco, I would call it a dead heat, really, in terms of abilities. One guy might do one thing a little bit better than the other guy, and the other guy do something better than the other guy. But when the lights go on and you're playing for real and you're playing to win, and you see what guys do during the course of the games, I think that stuff just kind of works itself out. Maybe it won't be clear to fans or media or whatever, but it'll become clear to me, because I'm gonna always use my gut feeling about what I know about the game, and this is what I've been hired to do, to be the leader of the program and make those tough decisions about who are the guys we want to hitch our wagon to. And I look for those qualities and in those players that you can count on. And sometimes those qualities don't really display themselves until they're playing the games for real. And I very much anticipate that will happen.